Welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we all experience in the business world and come out the other side willing to share those skills and experiences with us. So thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. Anyone that shares some time with me, shares some time with the audience is greatly, greatly appreciated. You're here to bring us some value. I hope that in turn we can bring some value to you. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me on your show today. Pleasure to be here. So I'm the founder of Into Edge, or Intuitive Edge, as we also call it. I basically founded the company in 2015, and we've had a good, strong 10 years now. So proud of making the 10-year mark. And what we do is we manage transition activities for large merger and acquisition transitions, and we mostly focus on the legal aspects of that, like the contracts, the repapering, setting up new contracts during these large scale transitions. So we are in a pretty specific niche, but we've been able to develop a really strong expertise in this specific area and built. We have tools built around this niche so that companies don't lose that operational continuity during a transition, which they normally may be in danger of losing contracts, losing opportunities to make sure that their vendors are operational, helping manage that. So that's basically what we do. And we mostly work with private equity firms or companies that are doing divestitures. We work with a lot with carve outs. So a private equity company wants to purchase a piece of a business. We've developed a really strong reputation for helping with those situations.
Tell me a story, because your business and your overall expertise in business in general, it's hard for me to wrap my head around how you get something like this started. You have to know so much and be so in tune with business at such a large scale that it seems like something that is untackleable, I would imagine, for a lot of us. So tell me a story. How did you get started doing this stuff and what made you really, really good at it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I left the corporate world in 2015, and I had worked in procurement departments and sales departments as sort of a hybrid. I'm an attorney. My background is that I'm an attorney, but I always worked in more operational roles, bridging the gap between legal and operational realities. So because I was already in that sort of a niche, kind of a different type of role in all the work that I've done in the corporate world, when I started my company, I understood a lot of the gaps and issues, having been through a lot of those things myself. Now, in 2015, when I started the company, you ask a good question, because anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur or anyone who wants to get into a consulting business, I didn't create the niche first. I found the customers first. So, and the way that I did that is I spent, a good 2, almost 3 years talking to everyone. So at the time, I belonged to a lot of groups. I went to every event I could go to. I got connected to a lot of people outside of my corporate world that I was in before. That helped, but I wanted to kind of branch out and see what was going on. I honed it down to, people need a lot of help with contracts. Okay, that's a gap that a lot of companies are talking about. So I started to focus in on contracts, and I didn't really focus in on merger and acquisition transition yet. But when I talked to one of my first customers that we were involved, so one of our first large customers was Dell. So they were doing a divestiture, and it was through all the conversations where they said, "Oh, you guys could help us with transitioning," because they were already used to hiring third parties to help them with, the additional bandwidth, the additional resources that they needed in order to accomplish it. They don't like to hire permanent staff for those types of deals because it's not a permanent job, right?
Sure.
So it was really just through conversations to answer your question, and a lot of time spent talking to people and understanding where their pain points were, and then creating sort of the business after that. So, I mean, it's kind of funny because when we were hired by Dell in the beginning, they took a chance on us for sure. I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of different people at Dell. I went down there. I live in Dallas, and their headquarters is in near Austin.
Oh, nice.
So I literally went down there once a month for a long time, for like 18 months, once a month, and I met with somebody. So it's just a series of meet this person, then I met this person, and pretty soon I got into the door. And I focused on Dell because they were giving me openings, right? Other companies I had talked to too, but I didn't have the same openings that Dell was giving me. And Dell was just giving, it was just one step, one step. It kept moving forward, even though it was very slow. It kept moving forward to the point where we finally signed a contract, a master agreement, and then we finally got a scope of work for something that was coming down the road because they knew that they were going to hire us. So once we jumped in on that project, that's when I figured out my entire business was doing the project, the first project.
Right.
So I didn't have it so much figured out before that, although I knew that I had tons of experience and I knew in my head theoretically how to do the project, and we were successful at the project. We did have some hiccups in the beginning, and there was a comment made at the beginning from Dell that said, "Oh, I'm surprised you guys don't have all the infrastructure in place." I mean, they kind of thought that we had more infrastructure in place, and but we were able to create the infrastructure really quickly.
Sure.
So then the project ended up being great, and they loved us in the end. So and once we did the first one, we kind of duplicate that with the ones that we got after the projects we got after that. So, and one thing about doing the type of work that we do is there's many parties involved in these transitions. So there may be multiple private equity companies on the buy side. There's lots of people on the sell side doing a lot of different things. So we get a lot of exposure just on one project. So if somebody sees us doing our job, which we're very good at, and wants to bring us in on one of their projects, then they'll bring us in because they saw us working. So that's how we've gotten all of our projects after that, was by people that actually worked with us or saw what we do. It's really hard to explain what we do to someone who's never seen us work and them hire us. It's always through someone that's seen us working or worked with us in some capacity on one of our projects.
I think what is very interesting to me is that you identified your market and you aggregated your own skills and experiences and understood what was valuable to the people that you were talking to. And then you kind of figured out the product, right? Like we talk a lot in the business world about product market fit. And I think a lot of people have a very good understanding of their product before they understand what their marketing or what their market and what the actual people need, what service they're going to provide to those people. I think the way that you did it is, especially if you're going to tackle something so large, right? Like these are large deals. One deal can make or break what you have, like what you're trying to do, especially early on. So tell me what was hard? What was the hardest part from, was it that beginning setting up period, talking to people, getting to understand and research your market? I would imagine that the experiences and setting up the whole process once you understood what your role was probably pretty easy for you with your understanding of the law. But what's been difficult? What did you have to learn? Or if you could go back and teach
Yeah.
yourself something on
Well,
day one?
yeah, I've learned a lot just being in the position that I'm in as the founder of the company. So there's a million different things about running a company that is hard at first. And once you're figured out or able to do it, then it's not as hard. But one of the hardest things is having those difficult conversations with your customer if things are not going the way they should be, smoothing things over, making sure your team's organized and doing, performing. So one of the things that looking back, okay, one of the things that I did that was smart was put a lot of time and attention and focus on our delivery because I didn't want to disappoint the customer in any way. Okay. And like you said, these are big projects. You lose one, you lose everything. I mean, it's there, it's a lot to take on. I didn't really see it so much that way at the time. I was more focused in on delivery, delivery, delivery. And we gained a reputation where we're the ones that respond. Like there's all these different consultants on these projects and we're the ones that respond within like 10 minutes as opposed to
Sure.
like someone might not respond for a day or two. And when you're in these deals, that's one of the things that makes you stand out is how quickly can you move and get things through. So that was one of the things that we established. And looking back, there was a period of time where I wanted to grow the company, but because we created a really strong foundation and focus on the operational capability, our capability as our foundation is so strong that growing it might actually disrupt that a little bit. So I I want to grow the company, but I want to grow it so much that it disrupts that foundation because I've worked with other companies where their focus was to grow and their operational capability was getting worse and worse and worse, and it's really obvious, and they don't respond, and they're not organized. They never had a strong enough process in place where they can plug people in internally to do the work and deliver the service, right? So that was one thing that, if I'm looking back, that was a really smart thing that I did, was focus on the operational capabilities and make sure that everybody understands how we're doing everything, and then sort of handing that off to my team, because I'm not so involved in it anymore. I built something that I don't need to be involved in all the time anymore. The other hard thing is there's going to be inflection points where you have to make a tough decision and you have to fire people. You have,
Right.
like, you just have to get rid of them. There are people that will try to hurt your business. And I think it's a common story that we hear where, these partners or, people that you bring on that are going to help you grow the business, whatever. And maybe they do something that's detrimental to the business. There's jealousy there's all these things that happen with partners. You hear all the stories. I eliminated all of that very quickly. So I don't know why. Because I don't want to deal with chaos, and I don't want to deal with convoluted things that are, I want everything to be clear, simple. Everything's done by the book, anything outside of that, I just don't tolerate it. So that's another thing that, if I look back, that was also a smart thing to do, because if I didn't do it, the business probably wouldn't be here today, honestly. So you have to think, like, when you're running a business, you have to think, okay, we have to deliver. Okay, a service is business. Delivery is number one. And number two, you have to get checks from people. You have to get payments. Okay. Those are like the two most important things. Everything else, like, you can be all nice to people, or all that stuff is going to derail your company.
Right.
Like, I can't let them go because they have a family and they're going to, that is not your business. You have to focus on your business, your cash flow. And that's really it. And I mean, of course, the culture of your company is important because you want to deliver, but that goes back to delivery. Like, you want to have happy people, so they deliver. So you put things in place like, bonuses or incentives or a nice working environment, or, listening to people. But again, you can't always have all the hours for all the people that they want either. So you just sort of have to manage all that. But, we have a really good culture and a solid operations, and those two things actually bring the money in all
Sure.
the time. We've had money coming in ever since that first project.
I think that there's a big difference between a big company and a strong company. We've talked about this a little bit on the podcast before, but your company has to be strong before it can be big. It's like the kid you see in 5th grade that grows a foot when he comes into 6th grade and he walks like a baby deer. Like those things happen. So you you can't outgrow the things that you need to be strong, your operational integrity, your ability to deliver your product, your ability to communicate with people is one of the first things that I see go, honestly, when people are really trying to grow their company, is that the communication slows down. They try not to talk to their clients. They limit the amount of times that they're interacting with those people. And a lot of that stuff can be a death sentence for small business, to be completely honest with you. So your company, for the people listening, you need to strengthen it and make sure that at its core, it's very, very good at what it does, and probably that it can operate a little bit without you. You know, it can continue to move forward if you're sick, if you're going through regular life stuff, if anything like that. Like, if your company doesn't have the strength and is so rooted in its foundation, it can topple over that because you miss a day in the office. Like, maybe you need to think about rectifying some of those things before you think about growing. I wanted to ask you something about a little bit of what we talked about on the phone, of getting your business to that right size, that right shape, that right speed, so that you can put more of your time and effort and energy into your personal life, into the things that you enjoy doing, and taking a step back from being pedal to the metal all the time. What's that process been like for you, and do you love it? What would you tell people that are kind of looking to do some of the same thing?
Yeah. So it's really about, balance and what you want. You don't have to grow your company. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, I have to grow my company. And I went through the phases where I was trying to grow the company. I invested a lot in new business development and sales, and it's a lot. I mean, especially if you're self-funded, you don't have funding. I never wanted to go out and get funding or anything, but I did try to grow the business more aggressively for a while, and I could just see what would happen if I continued to do that. I just spend lots and lots of time. The issues get more and more, not less and less,
Right.
because there's more customers, there's more people. So at one point, I just decided, okay, so we make this amount of revenue. If we're between this and this is what happens every time, and it's pretty steady. And I literally don't have to do any business development to do those to make that revenue at this point, because we've built our reputation, we've built partnerships with key, customers, and we are project based. I mean, that's just a reality of it. You can argue and look at all the different pricing models, but our customers pay you a certain way. If you're like, no, we want a subscription model now. No, they're going to be like, no, we don't do that.
Right.
I mean, it's not always possible to do all these models that everybody, wants you to try or do
Right.
or whatever. You have to do what the customer's going to pay you. Like I said, you got to get a check, right? So I've kind of realized I have this sweet spot. Okay, why do I want to change my sweet spot when I have lots of time to spend with my family and do other things? I'm doing a lot of writing now. I'm writing books and publishing books, so I'm able to do that, and I'm happy. And I don't need to go from $3 million to like $20 million. I just don't need to do it. So I don't want to do it. So I decided it's not necessarily a goal anymore, because there's pros and cons to doing that. So I guess
Absolutely.
you just have to decide, what kind of life do you want? How much, do you really want to grow the business, or you want to grow it to a certain point and then sell it? It's all, go ahead and do that if you want to do that, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Okay. Like, sometimes things feel like they're going to be easier than they are because you reach a certain level, but it's not really. You're not going to get your time. If you want time, you're not going to get that if you're going to do
Right.
that. So,
There's also like a point of diminishing return when it comes to quality of life. If you're 100% more stressed out for making 20% more money, or whatever drives you, like you feel 20% more successful, but you're twice as stressed, like there's a point of diminishing return when it comes to just trying to grow on steroids all the time, like
Hmm.
it exacerbates the issues that you have within your business, and no business is perfect. Like it really shines a glaring light on some of the things that you're not great at, and that's okay. Like it happens in my business every day. Like we're continuing to get better at things. We're seeing unique problems from unique clients. Like we're learning, we're getting better at this stuff, and we've been doing it for 25 years. You know what I mean? So like
Hmm.
those, if I went and hired 20 more people, or I went and bought more software companies or whatever that looks like yes, I can grow, but there's a point of diminishing return when it comes to down to the fact that the people that work with me aren't trained to oversee those things the way that I am. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
a lot of that workload falls on me because I'm trying to take another step up. So it's
Hmm.
one of those things where I need to strengthen my business before I can make those leaps so that I don't completely burn myself out of this industry and want to take a sabbatical and travel and blow my 401k like that you're the mental side of these things and what you want out of it and what your expectations are absolutely matter. It matters
Hmm.
a lot because it determines the amount of energy that you will approach your own company with. And like I've had a bad relationship with a lot of things. Like I've had a bad relationship with the game of golf at certain points. Like I'm just frustrated. I can't hit a ball straight. Things like when you have that with something as integral to your everyday life as your business, it's really, really taxing on every single other area of your life. You have to find a way to have a good relationship with the thing that you spend a third of your life doing, which is
Hmm.
working. If you're lucky, you spend a third of your life doing it. But a lot of people that I know spend a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But I think what you do is very interesting. I hope to be at the point one day to become a client of yours. I think that the transactions that you facilitate are a little bit outside of my price range right now, but not for long. I'll speak that into existence. But where do you go from here? What are your goals? And by the way, I
Hmm.
completely commend you on the way that you've built your team and your product and understanding of your market, the way that
Hmm.
you've reclaimed your time, the way that you used this business vehicle to get what you wanted out of life, I think is
Hmm.
extraordinarily commendable. I think that a lot of people slide that I'm going to be happy when I get to here. They constantly slide that bar away from themselves, and it's this
Hmm.
never ending, like, carrot and the stick rat race on a treadmill of, like, I need to do more, more, more before I can be
Hmm.
happy. And I think that, knowing what little I know about you, so let me preface that, but I think that you seem happy. I think that you seem
Hmm. Hmm.
content with your business and that you've built this thing into what you want and that you do a really, really good job and that you approach your business with the temperament that I hope to always be able to approach mine with. So, where do you go from here and how do we support you?
Yeah. So the business will keep going. I mean, I have a great team until nobody wants to do it anymore, maybe. But we have a great team, and we're continuing to service our main customers, and we'll continue doing that. Like I said, it doesn't stress me out sometimes, but not not very often. And then, like I said, I've been branching out into more writing, so I have been writing. Okay, so one of the things that happened when my business was kind of going on, it's bringing cash flow. I don't have to work 24/7 on the business anymore. It's actually opened up my mind and my creative side a lot, to the point where books and writings have been just flowing out of me suddenly. So, and one of the things that I did is I remodeled my backyard, and I have sort of this really great creative space that I've created for myself around my environment. So it's and the thing that I focus on in my books is kind of the different aspects and perspectives that people go through when they're in the middle of something, like in the middle of life or in the middle. So the one book that's coming out soon is called The Art After the Deal, which is a business book, but it focuses on what happens after the deals are done inside the company, right? So, and it really starts before the deal's done, because there's a feeling that something's changing, but nobody knows what it is because there's no communication.
Right.
So like the first chapter is like the first part is about like that feeling that people have that something's going to change, but it hasn't changed yet. And they just know something's coming. So their radar starts going up. So it's kind of that sort of that aspect of people's experience. I have another book called Outside the Bell, which is about children that were homeschooled that they're not rushed. It's basically the children who were not rushed. It's called Outside the Bell. So that's focuses on the children's perspective, and it's about 5 kids who talk to each other by a creek. They have an assignment to do, but they're not rushed, and they're doing a lot of different things based on each one has kind of a different background, right? So that's a children's, it's not really a children's book, but it's about children's perspective, being in an atmosphere and environment. How do they learn when they're outside of a schedule, right? And then the other book that's coming out is called The Woman from Frog Creek, which is anecdotes from a life they couldn't control, and that is all about my life, and it's written in anecdotes. So it's kind of like a memoir, but it's written in anecdotes. So it's very observatory and very kind of each anecdote's short. Like you could literally pick an anecdote and just read one anecdote. You don't have to read the whole book. But I think it's pretty cool how it kind of, if you do read the whole thing, you kind of see a line throughout how I made choices, how I made decisions, how I run the business. It has business, it has life, business, all those different things. Since I'm old enough to do that now, to do a book like that now. So those are kind of the 3 things that I've been finalizing currently, and then I have more books in my head that are coming out. So that's kind of what I've been doing. So you want to know about my future? It's basically writing, and I'm going to probably end up with an IP stack that's going to also, build over time. I mean, it'll just be there. Books are available to everybody all the time. So we'll see how they do. But that's something that I'm enjoying doing. And it's really nice to be able to just do something that you like to do and not have to worry about anything else, right? So that's what I'm doing right now. And then I'm thinking about doing more extended stay type traveling, like extended stay, like, 2-3 months type of traveling places, or even like, cruise voyages, or, I want to do this one to go through the Panama Canal. So just some different things that I'm planning to do someday, because I haven't traveled a lot. I mean, when I was building my business and doing all that, I sacrificed a lot of things. I hardly took any vacation for a long time. So now I'm to the point where I can sort of be free and do, start thinking about doing things that I want to do. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I didn't plan it this way. It's just sort of worked out this way. And one of the things that I think that it's just my personality is I don't like to do things if my tolerance level is low for doing things I don't want to do. So I figure everything out so that I don't have to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I don't want to
absolutely.
do this, so I'm just going to figure it out. Somebody else wants to do it, or, I'll figure it out so that I'm free to do what I want. So that personality trait has come out more and more since I got older. So,
Oh, I commend you for it. I'm absolutely in that
okay.
season of life where that experience feels further away than ever. You know what I mean? Because I'm at the point in my life where I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, I'm an expert in my field. I have seen success, and success is extremely addicting, to keep doing the thing that you do well. And so I think it gets harder for me to picture myself doing a lot of those things. And conversations like this really help me refocus on the goal, which is making my life what I want it to be. And for my kids and for the people in my organization, and all of those things are very important to me. And I commend you for I make it sound very dark in my head where I'm like, completing that journey or like getting to where you wanted to be, but you're nowhere near the end for you. I just I commend you for being able to make life take the shape that you want it to. It's exciting for me to hear that, and I commend you for it. And I hope that you guys listening have found some value in this conversation. I have found you very interesting for the time that we've spent together, both on the phone and on the podcast. And if there's anything that we can do to support your future endeavors, I'll absolutely read your books. I love to read books. We actually do. My whole office reads books together, so it's very interesting what it is that you do, and I appreciate you for sharing some of those things with us through your stories. I will absolutely read those things. I'll talk about them on the podcast, and like I said, if there's anything that we can do for you moving forward, please let me know. I think what you do is very, very cool. I think you are very interesting. I aspire to amass the level of skills and experience that you have and apply them to my own business. If you have anything to leave the audience with, please don't let me cut you off. But that's all that I have. And until next time, for those of you listening, please burn the ship. Give yourself a chance. If you bet on yourself, you'd be surprised at what can happen.
That's right. Yeah. Just, don't give up. I mean, it's hard to build something that allows you to have the freedom later, but it does take some sacrifice and hard work. Of course, everything does. But the end goal doesn't have to be to keep doing it. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't, right? So you can figure out at some point. Now, like I said, I reached a certain stage, I guess, and age, and my environment's a certain way. So I think all those things contributed to my being so clear in my orientation now, as as far as what makes me happy
Sure.
and what I want to do. And I mean, that's a process. It doesn't just like, oh, now I'm oriented, one day.
Right.
It's not. Yeah, it's definitely a process. So if you keep sort of focusing on your environment, your goals, really tuning into yourself and what you want to do, and not doing what everybody else wants you to do,
Yeah.
thinks you should do, that all contributes to that state eventually that you can actually be in. So I think I'm fortunate to have gotten this state. It wasn't an expected thing or something that I was trying to do on purpose. I just work hard and I do things, and then I think about things, and ended up, this is where I'm at now. So
Well, I think your journey's been, it's very exciting, and I appreciate you for sharing it with us.
Yeah.
And until next time, burn the ship.
Great.